coming into a new team, but it's backed by an established firm that's proven the test of time in the market. Before coming to Dubai, I used to have a gym just before the global pandemic. To be honest, I had no real understanding of real estate back home, but it really got me thinking of the potential that this city and career could offer.
What was the turning point for you that makes you go, do you know what? I'm done with this. It's time for something new.
I was doing residential sales for 3 years in the last company. Espace opened a new commercial division under Morgan,
Which is growing very quickly.
This job is all about momentum. So the longer you're in the job, the easier it gets.
Let's say someone at home's considering making the move to Dubai Real Estate. And what advice would you give them? Hello and welcome to another episode of the First Deal Files. Today I'm joined by Jack Cavanagh, who left behind a successful gym business in Ireland to pursue his new journey in Dubai Real Estate. Welcome, Jack.
Thanks for having me.
So let's start from the beginning. What were you doing before Dubai Real Estate and what made you make the jump?
So before coming to Dubai, I used to have a gym. Bought the gym back in 2020, just before the global pandemic, which made it exciting, and ran that for 3-4 years before coming to Dubai.
What would you say in your past experience in the whole gym rebranding side of things is sort of transgressed over here in the Dubai real estate market?
Yeah, so the real estate industry, it's commission only. You're not guaranteed any salary. So it's quite similar to what I was doing in terms of running the business, because the buck stops with me at the end of the day when I had the business. In terms of generating members, etc., that was up to me. So in terms of generating stock in the real estate market, it's quite similar. So I feel like I learned a lot of skills doing the gym business, growing the membership base, rebranding, and I wore a lot of hats when I had the gym. I had a lot of good people that worked with me, but I also had to, wear a lot of hats, do the marketing, do the admin, also coached, and dealt with all the paperwork on the back
So
end.
it's quite hands-on then.
Yeah, exactly.
So what was it that made you make the jump then? In terms of what was the turning point for you that makes you go, do you know what? I'm done with this. It's time for something new.
Yes, so I came here on holidays in 2021, I think. We stayed with a family friend. Both of them are actually in the real estate industry themselves. And to be honest, I had no real understanding of real estate back home, because back home it's more of an auctioneering thing and it's more of a family business.
Yeah.
And then I came here, had just a couple of chats with the guys we were staying with, and completely opened my eyes to the potential that's here. Didn't really think much of it. He did arrange an interview with me for another company. So I went in just on the last day of my holidays and had a discussion. Not really much more was said from there, but it really got me thinking of like the potential that this city and career could offer.
Was there any hesitation behind the decision? Because a lot of people like the idea of it, and especially being in the position you were in, I'd say, were you fairly comfortable there?
Yeah, no, 100%. Like, it was a difficult decision because I had probably about 3.5-4 years of a lot of work put into the business back home. And it was a big crossroads, to be honest. Like, it was either pack up the business completely, move here and just completely cut ties.
Yeah.
Option 2 was maybe to figure out a leasing system, but maybe could get complicated down the line. So yeah, I had a lot to kind of walk away from, but from my research and knowing a couple of people here, I felt that cutting ties and moving here would give me a better opportunity long term.
Agreed. So when it comes down to why Espace, what was it that stood out to you? Obviously, I know you said that you interviewed with another company.
Yeah.
How come you chose Espace over the other people that you spoke to?
Well, I was working in Dubai for 3 years prior to coming to Espace.
Okay.
I was in a big firm. It was a good company, to be fair. But Espace opened a new commercial division under Morgan, and it just appealed to me because I was doing residential sales for 3 years in the last company, and I was doing it in DIFC. And a lot of my clients in that area were investors themselves. So a lot of the conversations were purely like numbers based. So there was a lot less emotion involved. And there's quite a lot of similarities between those clients that buy residential in DIFC and the clients that buy commercial. There's no emotion. It's just, do the numbers make sense? And if they do, they'll buy the offer.
So stepping into Espace then, what was the initial thoughts? Obviously, you came here, settled in fairly quickly. You're
Yeah.
going into obviously quite a new team, which is growing very quickly.
Yeah.
How have you found, well, I know we're quite past this now, but how have you found the first few weeks? What were they like in terms of the training, the support, Morgan, the team growing? How have you dealt with all of that and what's it been like?
Yeah. Well, there's a great support system internally in the company,
Mm,
between the training, the HR, the admin, um, especially the fact that it's a new team. Everybody's kind of learning, um, and progressing and developing on the move.
mm.
So everyone's kind of rowing in behind each other and helping each other grow. But yeah, it's been tough, obviously, starting off from scratch again, because this industry and this job is all about momentum. So the longer you're in the job, I won't say the easier it gets, but you don't need to do the nitty gritty stuff as much because you get more referrals, your client base grows,
Yeah.
you do repeat business with similar clients or the same clients. So you don't need to be like hammering the phones all the time. So to have to go back to that definitely is a little bit of a switch up and a mindset reframing.
Yeah.
But saying that, based off the 3 years experience and client base that I've built up, I've been able to kind of tap into that and then leverage that going into commercial, because quite a lot of my landlords from the residential side in DIFC have or are interested in commercial. And it's been a nice little overlap there to kind of give me a kickstart into the new market.
And I think the way that the market's going at the moment as well, commercial is definitely a growing market that a lot of people are starting to see the opportunity in now. So when it came down to that first deal,
Yeah.
experience, no experience, first deal at a new company is always going to be the hardest.
Yeah.
And especially considering now you're in a completely different sector.
Yeah.
Run us through that first deal. So how did it come about? What were you feeling? Take us on the journey of how it started.
Yeah. So the first deal in commercial was a little bit stressful because there's a bit more involved.
Yeah.
Even though I've done deals before. So having the experience of putting a deal together definitely helps. So the negotiation side.
Yeah.
But when it came to the paperwork and stuff, that was definitely a little bit more stressful. The deal came through a lead on Property Finder, and we viewed the property. There's a couple of back and forths. What I've noticed with commercial as well, a lot of the time, there's not just one decision maker. So, for example, with a residential buyer, it might be just an individual looking to buy one house, and
Mm.
you're talking to them, they make the decision, the deal's done. But when it comes to commercial, sometimes there's maybe shareholders involved, more approvals required. So it can be a little bit more of a slower process to get a deal over the line.
But also a few more hurdles to overcome.
Exactly, yeah.
Because one voice is hard enough to convince, and when you've got a table of voices, it's definitely
Yeah, 100%. Suppose, and sometimes the difficulties you're not necessarily dealing with the decision maker
Yeah.
all the time in commercial, because you might be dealing with someone that has a portfolio of properties and they have a representative that does the viewings on their behalf.
Mm.
And then you have to kind of persuade them to persuade you or their boss to get you in front of them.
And a lot gets lost in translation as well.
Exactly. You need to try your best to convince the representative you're with. Not all the time. Sometimes you're with the main decision maker, but it's trying to get in front of that decision maker as soon as possible. And with that first deal, I was dealing with like a representative initially.
Yeah.
And then we got to the decision maker and we put together the deal and got it done. But yeah, it was definitely a steep learning curve, because sometimes you don't know what you don't know. So I didn't know what questions to ask. I did not know I was not dealing with the decision maker. I took a lot away from it. It was stressful, got it done, and on to the next.
And it was on to the next very quickly as
Yeah.
well. In terms of real estate, obviously it's quite a mentally tough industry.
Yeah.
What is it for you on a day-to-day basis, maybe in work, out of work, that you do that keeps you on that level-headed mindset?
I suppose it's not to get, most people say this, but not to get too carried away with the deals,
Yeah.
the big deals that come in or the good deals that come in, and not to get too bogged down on the missed deals, let's say. And one thing I've kind of noticed over the time in the industry, deals sometimes come out of absolutely nowhere. Like you
Yeah.
could be driving down the road and you're like, oh, I think I'm finished here. Like, where's this next deal? Next thing you get a phone call, a referral from a friend, or a previous client refers you to a friend that wants to take a unit, and they're like an extremely fast decision maker. And then within 24 hours, you have a deal done. But I suppose trusting the process, that just keep doing the simple stuff, even though
Yeah.
it can be quite boring and tedious and demoralizing sometimes, because a lot of time you're talking to people that don't want to talk to you. So it's getting through that and then capitalizing on times that come through when there's a a client that actually wants to work with you, and just trusting the process.
And I think it's important not to reinvent the wheel. I feel like a
Exactly.
lot of people come into it, try and go down a new route. And again, look, the opportunities are there to be explored.
Yeah.
But when it comes down to the fundamentals, the basics, like you say, it's just a matter of rinse and repeat.
Yeah.
The
Exactly.
basics are always going to be needed. The style or the way that you do them is obviously up to each individual person, but keeping the fundamentals in place and just doing the same thing day out, that's where the results come from. So is there anything that you wish you knew on day one?
There's a couple of things I would say. Like, I would have maybe done a little bit more research on companies. Now, I'm happy with the company I started, to be honest. But what I would have done is more research on areas that you can work in, because I kind of came in blind to really what the mark or what the job was.
Yeah.
And then obviously going through training, you get allocated areas, etc. I was asked, what area do you want to do? I was like, I don't really mind, which is probably the worst answer, because then you're just given a random area.
Yeah.
So I would have maybe researched areas that maybe appealed to me, or looked up areas and then spoken to agents that do those areas and then get their feedback. And at least then, if I'm asked, I'll have at least a suggestion that might maybe fast track success, or maybe got you closer to doing deals. Because sometimes if it doesn't work out, you take a step backwards. And as I said, the job's all about momentum. So if you stop or move company or change area, you're kind of stopping that momentum for a period of time until you get back up and running again. So probably just doing some more research on the areas, and then speaking to brokers that either work in the company you're considering or cover the area that you're looking to go into.
To be fair, I think that's really good advice.
Yeah.
I think a lot of people do come into the market completely blind.
Yeah.
And then a month into the role, not necessarily they don't like the job, they might not necessarily like the area, bond with the area, and that's where people do tend to switch off mentally going through it. So let's say someone at home's considering making the move to Dubai real estate. What would you say to them? What advice would you give them?
There's a couple of things, because like the move it's a tough move in a couple of ways. Like, it's emotionally tough because you're obviously away from family. It's financially tough. Like, the first 6 months are heavy on your savings. Like, like a lot of people that I've met over the last, let's say, 3 years I've been here, people that have left the industry, let's say, a lot of the times they've run out of money. So just having enough to tie you over for, just say, worst case 6 months.
Yeah.
Because if you just for something could happen, or you just mightn't get the area that you want, or deals just mightn't be happening. You might be doing everything, but they just may not happen as soon as you need them to happen. And then you run out of money, but you could be just nearly there. Then if the funds go, you have to go, basically.
Yeah.
The financial and the emotional, it's a mad mix. If you can kind of manage those two well, do your research on companies. Companies' time in the market is quite important, because like, you can't really bypass that. So, for example, Espace is established in Dubai for many years, and that was another reason why I thought it was a good move for me.
Yeah.
Because coming into a new team, but it's backed by an established firm that's proven the test of time in the market through the ups and downs. So having, like, although it's a new team, it's backed by a company that is not going anywhere,
Jack, it's been a pleasure.
Yeah.
Thank you very much.
No problem.
It's been a strong start to your career at Espace, and I think it's fair to say you've got a long way to go in terms of longevity at this company here.
Hopefully.
So excited to see it.
Thank you.
Thank you for watching another episode of the First Deal Files, and stay tuned for more episodes.